Good morning to all. So today we have a topic, decentralizing astronomical education. So which is going to be delivered by Dr. T.B. Dinesh, Director, Servelots, Bangalore. So I'm very happy to introduce Dr. T.B. Dinesh. He has completed his PhD in the year 1992 from the Department of Computer Science, University of Iowa. Is one of the America's premier public research university. He spent several years in Amsterdam at the CWI, the Dutch National Institute for Mathematics and Computer Science. He has had various academic research and industrial positions where he has worked on object-oriented programming, generation of software and courseware from specifications, structuring information for its use on the internet, and increasing visual stories from archives. In 1999, he co-founded Pagelets Incorporation in California and Servelots in India, which were responsible for the research and development of the community and social welfare called Contour Communities. As a technical director of Sanastu, he works in Bangalore, India on social and developmental issues like web content accessibility for the low literate, use of 3D methods for location interpretation methods, on using social semantic web concept for storytelling and other open source social platforms. He was a member of W3C working group on web annotations as an invited expert. So regarding the Dinesh sir and his group, the following sheep and working on pastoral issues for over 10 years. Over the year, a number of technology research and development projects such as Follow the Sheep, Socianity of Smartphone for Shepherds, mobile app for mapping nomadic events and tracks, local mesh network, location interpretation, and rearrangement of biocultural protocols have been part of work. They have been interested in the issues of content accessibility for the billions of web users who may be considered as lower literate. Their technology research has led to rearrangement web and LP tools that suggest accessibility guidelines based on social semantic web concepts and web annotation as a standard look forward to. Working with the craft communities and makers communities to promote maker spaces that can help bring involvement of rural youth and young women to complement the local craft cooperative by not only bringing appropriately advanced technologies to these contexts, but also help aid communication among their own and with their client and the public at large. So with this, his introduction and its group activities, I invite Dr. T.B. Dinesh sir for delivering the lecture on the topic Decentralizing Astronomical Education. Welcome you, sir.
Dinesh, you have muted. Dinesh?
Okay. You can hear me now?
Yeah,
Hello?
yes, Dinesh. Yes, we can hear.
Okay, sorry. I was just saying that was more than the length of my talk. Okay, thanks. So, what I want to do today is to introduce how we can do decentralized learning, frameworks for it, and our attempts to go towards that. The reason we ended up here in the decentralized learning space is just a quick review of how where we are coming from and where we are going with respect to general internet and education. Yeah. So 1 second. I think somebody is asking for a link. Okay. Yes, what? So the need to do this may not be very apparent, but our experiential thing, experientially being in this learning space, has kind of motivated us to go deeply into this. Especially, I come from the internet research background, and we want to see where the internet came from and where it's going. And as you all know, internet is only like 30 years old, the web as we know it, but a lot of things have happened. And mostly in this very eager way of taking it forward, what we have done is just hand it over to corporates and rich conglomerates to kind of bring us what we are supposed to learn. That's the keyword. So they decide what is good for us and how we are socially connected and what algorithms drives us. So to take a couple of examples, you can see, I mean, the first thing, our main, today after so many years, almost 20 years of like learning, relearning, and what do we say? Re-strategizing where we should go. One thing that's clear for us is to see how we need not from now on leave the low literate people behind, right? So to say in one line, if they have something to say, right, they just have to press a button and record it and transmit it in time and space. What do I mean by space? They can send it to somebody far away. They can send it to, more importantly, they can send it to their own neighbors. And in time, meaning that it can be kept for next few generations. And that's what we call as archiving. And from that, we can drive a lot of stories and validate the people. So this was not possible till now, and this is the amazing thing that the technology is bringing us, and we should be aware of what the technology is bringing us and how we should kind of look at it. So that's why we started the decentralized web project called COW, which is Community Operated Wireless Mesh, COW Mesh. Okay. So I'll just briefly tell you our attempts and what we're planning to do. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm a little unwell, so I'll be coughing. So, so when you look at any networking space, you will see that there will be a local network, but these days that's all kind of delegated to direct online ISP space, right? What that does is it won't let us talk to each other independent of that. And if you think about that, it's kind of crazy. I might be sitting next to you, but I still have to send my messages to a satellite, get an approval from an ISP, and they should be able to charge me for that. Only then I can just the message will come to you, even though you're like directly next to me or 1 kilometer away. And if you think of a decentralized web, you can see that this need not happen. The communications can stay within the community, and only when you want to go beyond, like I want to talk to Ram, who's uh, in some other space in Tamil Nadu, and then I would need to kind of get to the internet as we know it. Right? For most of the other work, we can collect stories, we can do a lot, and most importantly, we can collect local knowledge. What do I mean by local knowledge? Right? Most of the communications you can just reflect on your own rural slash local context. They're all in a language that I wouldn't understand coming from Tumkur and Bangalore, right? So this is important, right? And should not be marginalized, right? This should be celebrated. So that is where and how we are able to include most of the people who are important in our lives. And what do we get out of it is we are able to equally learn from each other, right? We are not saying, I am literate, I am better than you. Right? This is the most damaging thing, which soon kind of reclassifies people as who's better than the other. After having done this for 2000 plus years, we're still, if we don't do this, we'll still fall back into the same modalities, right? So, which is all about I am better than the other. So what we are doing is to see how we can go forward with a local internet. So here, for example, we have set this up in a space called Devarayan Durga near Tumkur, and we have a direct fiber connection at Tumkur, and this red line here, we transmit a wireless wire, quote unquote, to the hills. There it is distributed. But even if this red line, is broken or not available, we are able to do most of the knowledge gathering, storytelling, and archiving locally in our servers in the locality. So this is the ideal model. We are lucky to be in a space where there are hills. So you can see this router here, and it's on top of a hill, Devarayan Durga, and you can reach 3 or 4 villages there. And that's a very unusually lucky scenario because we can optimize the number of nodes we have and reach maximum people. And the way we envision what the local network is we include phones, we include Raspberry Pis, tiny computers, and each one can mesh with the other. Okay. And then there are subspaces where it's available for the villages around, and it's all about creating, like you go to Facebook or you go to Google, it's all about creating local knowledge for learning space. For example, if you open the homepage in this network, similar to what might be Google Maps, let's say, you will see contributed knowledge. You will see biodiversity information. Okay, you'll see the snakes that we came across there, and they identify. And these are all small things, but very important because most of the villages, unlike what we think, have classified snakes into only 3 categories. There is the cobra, there is the rat snake, and there is something called Kolakmangla. But most of them are not that. Many of them are, safe snakes and pythonish family thing and all that, right? So we need to kind of make them contribute to this knowledge and also realize and see it, right? And that's a simple thing. And when they go to the captive portal that's available on the mesh network, they will be able to experience all this, navigate through this. And so one simple thing that we have tried is called cow radio. Radio is a for for a radio, you just have to talk and curate and then transmit. Okay, and you just have to then navigate through that and listen to or forward to other people. Okay, so so but the activity itself is very significant because we already kind of deliberately maybe, but maybe not, but we have made sure that most of the children who are in typical schools don't have expression, voice expression especially, right? If they open their mouth, the teacher will say, "Hey, did you finish your homework? Right? Go attend to that first." Or they'll say, "Don't voice, no, don't raise your voice, or don't interrupt." These are the main things. But effectively, what's happened is they've lost uh, their ability to express. And it's important for us to bring this back and give them confidence to realize who they are, what they are, is actually as good as anybody else. Right? And that kind of expression, the individual expression and community expression, is very important. Right? Now you can imagine how this can lead to local learning. Okay. So here what you see is this is a friend's van, and there is a um, uh, Raspberry Pi based Wi-Fi access point available on it, and people can play from that and also listen and discuss what was played. And they can also, if they have smartphones, they can just browse through it and access the radio messages. Okay, and here uh, we can see that a girl is talking to her older person in the village and getting information on how they used to do farming. And the last one here is basically they also were encouraged to do interviews and make stories of the people around. And for example, one activity was based on something called loitering boys. And what the girls had to do was to go talk to the boys and make a story about them. Why are they loitering? And because they are all relatives and local people, it's not a big, you know, uh, who are you to ask all this kind of thing. But in the end, we realize that the boys actually don't have much to do, right? So there is a very clear uh, out, outcome of this interview and storytelling, which is not only for them, for the boys also to realize that they expressed it, and they they are clear about without saying much, they are able to process that they don't have much to do, right? This is a simple but interesting step in self-reflection. Okay? And okay. In this direction, we have a craft center, and there, what is local learning, local knowledge is not only making crafts, but also embedding technology in these crafts. For example, uh, there is a Pi Zero in this pouch with 4 buttons, and you can navigate all the radio programs through it. One will help you record, the other will help you play, and the other will help you navigate. Okay. And this black box is Bidri Crafts. So our friend Sankit, he works with Bidri Crafts people, and he loves it. So what he has done is, it's not just dumb plastic case, but let's make it contextual, right? Then it's a win-win, right? There is a radio in it, and then the Bidri person is also benefiting from it, and both are learning from each other, right? They are able to see that their craft can be used for um, what do I say, technology, and how the technology is embedded in their craft. So here on the top is a STD booth, which is being converted into press one to record, press two to play kind of thing. So it's not a real phone booth, but it's a recording and playback activity. So this also we tried in Indonesia. This is the king there in a small community, and he was quite uh, uh, happy to to experience this kind of possibility. Okay, so now what I want to do is just open up conversations and discussions and see how I just looked up and pulled this out. It's very interesting line here. So you all, since you're astronomy people, you all know sundials, and you all know uh, gnomes, right? Mm, gnomons, sorry. And so there is this line in Wikipedia which says basically that there is this article called How Sundials Work, and in that there is a sentence saying sundials are brought to discredit because of people doing like plastic, non-dial, uh, playful thing, not even playful, but dummy things. And once you use that, you realize it does nothing at all except display the designer's ignorance and persuade the general public that real sundials don't work. Maybe we can discuss what this means here, if that would be good for me to also learn from you all. So, and why it's important for decentralized uh, astronomy education. Yeah. I'm opening it up for discussion here. This is my last slide, by the way. Hello?
Yeah, yes, Dinesh. Yes.
So, what is the most important? Maybe I can just ask some questions that drive the discussion forward. What is the most important thing in a sundial?
So the floor is open for discussion. So people,
Yeah, the
yeah.
floor is open.
So whoever's having some idea about, I mean, if you want to discuss, ask about the cow mesh, so or you can speak, converse.
Yeah, ask anything. Yeah. But if you don't understand why I put this sundial thing, we can also talk about it. Then we will narrow it down to why decentralized learning is important. Okay. But you can also take this question home and think about it. You're all teachers and professors, no? It's very unusual that you're silent.
Hello,
Yeah.
my name is Deepali.
Right.
I wanted a comment
Yeah.
that sundial is actually used for the timekeeping.
Yeah.
But nowadays, the art of timekeeping is restricted with the watches
Yeah.
that are easily available and cost is also cheap. So
Right.
the sundial art is backwarded. I think
Right.
so.
Hmm.
Um, I am teaching astronomy for
Okay.
the MSc PG students.
Uh,
I also have to struggle why we use sundial in today's day.
uh, uh, uh.
So first of all, we have to convince the students how the historical peoples, ancient peoples are going to work with these timekeeping things.
Right. 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 Yeah.
But the grasping power, or they grab what I say or what I wanted to demonstrate,
Hmm.
they are very easy with the technology and they don't wanted to do this work.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and they also didn't want to start this lots of things and study these things. So sundials are
Hmm.
now, it is difficult
Yeah.
to compete with the wristwatches, the Apple watches.
Yeah. I
This
mean,
is one of the.
yeah, what you're saying is because of the globalized time, and it's important that what we see as 12 noon is also 12 noon somewhere else. So we are stuck in the in this chronometer watch uh, framework, right? Because we want to believe that we are all seeing the same time. But what actually happening is like if you go to northeast, like 12
uh,
noon is at uh, what is it?
After 12.
Yeah,
After 12.
yeah. So it will be like 2 hours later, right?
Yes.
And
Actually, I am staying in Gandhinagar. So
okay,
the noon time here is at 12:30, around that.
exactly. So
Uh,
if you understand that, we realize that this is just a reference, but it's not related to, it's not directly relevant to how we see time and the
huh.
sunrise and sun noon and all that locally, right? So we need to kind of emphasize the difference, why the watch is there, why it does not reflect on what the actual time is, and how we can, actual time meaning that local time, okay, how we can
Uh,
adjust and learn about why this big difference.
No, no, no. These people didn't understand the art. They just only go and put the time on the Google so that it will convert according to its location, latitude and longitude.
Yeah,
So they don't want to hard work.
yeah,
They
yeah. No, I
go
understand.
with the easy things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is
So
my point.
yeah, my feeling there is like if you think of a decentralized web, right?
Huh.
Google may not be there just like we assume it's there everywhere, right? Like for example, where we have put
Huh. If the
where
remote area.
yeah, where we have put the cow mesh, right? There is no other way of getting
Huh.
it. So
Yes.
so either we give them a captive portal for them to understand what's going on, or we give them a voucher to access the internet. Okay, there is
Yes.
no direct, it's not like an ISP kind of thing because there is no other, coincidentally, maybe we are lucky, but there's no other way of getting internet to that area.
If they are is in the remote places or
Yeah,
they are in the
it's
sea.
only 70 kilometers from Bangalore, but it's still internet dark, right?
Yes.
So,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah. But important thing is again to go beyond the whether they can cheat or something by making it an exercise of learning how different times, uh, even if it's like Bangalore versus Devra and Durga, there'll be a different
Okay.
sundial adjustment needed, right? And also there
Huh.
is a pinhole uh, uh, gnomons. Okay, so there's a light that falls on it, and if you go to many ancient temples, on particular Shankranti day, something, the light will fall on the god's face, right? Yeah,
That is also I have seen in Kolhapur, Maharashtra. There is a temple of
yeah,
goddess Ambabai.
correct,
Uh,
correct. So we need
the
to kind of be able to explain very simply how this works, right? If you
okay.
have, for example, a skylight in your house, right? You
Uh,
just have to trace on which days of the light falls where, right? And then on the
uh,
Shankar day, you can put a God's face or something in a specific place on the wall,
uh,
right? And every year, same time, the light will fall on that God's picture. So you need
yes.
to kind of track it, right? This is what is called as the pinhole gnomon. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
The light comes from a pinhole and falls in a particular place, but every day it's not in the same place.
Yes. I have observed it.
Yeah, so it keeps going around,
Uh,
and then, but once a year it comes in the same place.
yes.
So this is a very interesting, important ways of understanding sundials and
Uh,
complexities. Yeah, and also about understanding how decentralized knowledge is important, because this this spot on the wall may
mm,
be slightly away from the other places that are there. That's why this statement here, this ugly plastic sundial, shows the
uh,
designer's ignorance, right? And just persuades the general public to believe that sundials don't work. Yeah. So what does that mean? That you can't just centralize this idea. Centralize in the sense of I'll make the standard sundial. Cannot be done at all.
uh,
Sundial is specific to a location. This is the important thing, right?
yes. I understand that.
Yeah.
But there are watches, so they didn't do the hard work. So I
What is we need to first uh, drive home the point that the watches just have a reference of what is 12 o'clock here, and what is 12 same time is considered 12 o'clock in all over India. But it doesn't reflect on the reality of what is 12 o'clock in terms of how much light is at 12 o'clock. Right? We
ha
can do another measurement of how much light is at 12 o'clock. Right?
ha
Yeah.
yes.
So
Thank
this
you.
is all leading to decentralized education.
Okay. Thank you.
Hmm.
Any other questions, participants?
Ram, anything else I should cover in this?
Maybe Dinesh, how we can use this mesh setup to embed or plug the astronomy education content into it for the learning purpose, kind of
Hmm.
decentralization. Maybe if you can discuss that, that would be.
I mean, first of all, I think I kind of gave some sense of how it can be used for learning, localized learning, right? But for astronomy itself, that's why I thought of like sundial being a very simple thing. We can drive home the point on how it can be used for learning. Because you imagine the combination of radio and the images and some experiments going on, all on the local mesh, right? And how it helps each other learn and do an experiment on their own. Right. So because we need to go from classroom education, like what Dipali was talking about, to experiential on the ground um, way of kind of understanding uh, how things work. And astronomy is a very interesting thing when it comes to this, because it's all about global cosmic spaces. But even then, for example, if you go to southern hemisphere, right, you just open up and look the night skies of southern hemisphere and northern hemisphere. It's mind-boggling, right? It's nothing related to, you can't even imagine that something of such a difference is possible in the sky. So this is important, right? We should know that it's not one sky. Depends on where we are, is the sky that we see. Right? And so it comes from that perspective that even with the even with the thing like astronomy, where most of the study is about celestial uh, uh, objects, which is away from our local decentralized thing. But how do we make sense of it? Right? Almost all uh, the way we can experience it is locally. Right? Once we start experiencing it, it's all a local experience, right? How do people come up with so many interesting um, seasons, solstices, and all these things, right? So we kind of have to bring that focus and then expand. And that's what I think, right? So
Yeah. Any other questions if you have about the mesh, decentralization, local knowledge? You may ask.
you're all welcome to visit us, and we can share ideas and work together on some things. If you have an idea, you can um, write to me also. I think my email may be available here. Where is the chat space here?
Uh,
Sir,
can find in the down.
excuse me, I am Harihan
Ah.
from Jamal. Sir, I have a clarification. So this sundial, can for example, if a student or any individual want to calibrate it at a particular location,
Yeah.
what is the procedure they can adapt?
See, sundial is
You
very,
said that
yeah.
you have to note the sunspot every day. So
Uh,
other than that, is there is any simple technique you can follow?
Simple technique, I mean, it's called rough approximations. You can keep on simplifying it. And but the important thing is for the students to understand every day, right? This understanding is crucial. Right? So you can do it every week. You take a sundial, you take a dial, you mark some things, and then you put a gnome, and then which is basically it can be as simple as a stick, and then you mark where the shadow is falling, right? What you will immediately see is the length of the shadow changes not only by the time of the day, but also by the seasons. Like what might be today 10 o'clock, it could be 1 feet shadow, 1 foot, but next 6 months later, because the angle of the sun will be different, right? It will be northeast, it will be coming up. So what would happen is that you need correction there, right? Uh, that kind of a detail is very important for a student to understand, right? Otherwise, it's very simple, but they can see if you have a Comesh, for example, they can post on the captive portal their experiment, right? So today it posted, today the shadow was here, today the shadow was here, and everybody, all the students will be learning from it, right? And then they might also get excited, and or they might contradict it, or they might, this is what learning is in the end, right? There is a dialogue on how to learn locally, how to bring excitement to it, right? Otherwise, like what Dipali is saying, they'll say like, oh, I have the conversion formula gotten from Google, right? That already tells us how skewed our education system is, because the question that we ask can be reduced to a Google lookup, right? But that's not the point of learning and education, if you ask me, right? It's not about your capability of googling for something or looking up something, right? I mean, that's there, but only small percentage of the thing is. But it's about your how you get creative or excited about some learning that's going on. So you, because you understand that you're going into the details of learning. Um,
May I?
yeah.
Uh, I was thinking that if the sundials or some of the handout experiments that
Hmm.
we can use in the teaching of astronomy,
Yeah.
if we can, or there is some workshop for the teachers to
Hmm.
demonstrate the formulas, calculations, and how we are going through these handouts with the experiments, with the calculations. If it is possible to do, then it is
Hmm.
easy for the total astronomical education to modify uh, our concepts
Hmm.
in students' understanding. So,
Yeah.
because I did the sundial experiment in the last year, but the
Hmm.
students not get interested. They are
Yeah.
just saying me that why we have to do this? We have
Hmm.
watches, we have
Hmm.
mobile or digital watches,
Hmm.
analog watches. Then why we wanted to do this?
Hmm.
So it was quite inconvenient for the teachers also. So if there is a common platform which can do this task, uh, that is in all over India, to
Yeah.
help the students to explain the basic astronomical concepts with the observations along with the theoretical knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it will be helpful for the teachers also and for the students also. That was my point.
I completely agree with you. Oh, I hope Surendra has been listening.
Yeah,
If
yes,
it is
yes.
possible, then
Hmm.
I just suggested one possibility
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
to explore things
Yeah.
easy way, in easy way. Thank you.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do a whole course on sundials.
Yes.
I don't know what the retention would be of the current students. So small experiments are better.
So
Yes, even I am struggling for the parallax. So
Hmm.
I used to calculate them parallax for the small distances.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they even struggle that why we would do that. All the
Hmm.
things are on the now the globalization and the internet facilities are here in our hands.
Hmm.
We are doing coding, वगैरह. So why should we do this by experiment? So
Hmm.
they are always asking questions like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
If there is a common platform and it will be helpful to explain to students if this basic things and basic concepts.
Hmm.
So it can be very helpful for the teachers also. I think so.
Are you still in Gujarat, Gandhinagar?
Yes, I am in Gujarat. Gaandhinagar.
Yeah. Maybe we should do a, when the travel and all is possible, we should kind of meet and work on something.
Okay, may I have your email ID?
I have put it in the chat.
yeah, it's in the chat box.
Okay, okay, I will definitely in contact with you.
No problem.
Thank you.
So, is there any questions from others, or do you want to converse something? Otherwise, maybe I can introduce one extra stuff with permission from Dinesh. So there is a project called Astro Digital Library. We are going to install in Jamal Mohammed College Physics Department. That is in the processing stage. So it's based on the mesh network, as Dinesh initially showed the picture, right? So similar kind of mesh will be established in the institution, and where we can put the content of astronomical education, books, audios, videos. So students can consume those contents without internet. So this is one kind of Astro Digital Library. We have partnered with Servelots and Zanastu to install this project in Jamal. So we are glad to introduce to all of you as well.
Any more question from the participants? Or you share your questions in the chat
I
box.
like the sundial thing because it takes us to the roots on what is science for us, right? And we kind of end up not looking at what is science, but just teaching some syllabus. Right? So it's important that we keep going back to what is science. So that's why as primary as the sundial thing that we take for granted when you're in the astronomy teaching. I thought I'll pull it up and bring it to fore. Yeah.
Sure, Dinesh. Thank you. If there is no more questions, Dinesh, do you want to share anything more? Dinesh, do
We
you
did
want?
a little discussion on the last Sankranti thing with Surendra and everybody here. It was quite a lot of attention grabber because you're not only explaining the significance of Sankranti in terms of astronomical thing, because soon the discussion went into how the times have changed, right? So current Sankranti date might be okay like 1,000 years ago, not today, for the same principles. So that understanding was also crucial for all the participants because the world, because of the changes in the astronomical maps.
Okay. So now I request Dr. C. Hariharan, Assistant Professor of our department, to
Do we
propose
have
a
a
vote of
feedback
thanks
link?
for this session.
Surendra?
Yes, Dinesh, we have feedback. So we will get the feedback from form using a form.
I can't hear
We
you.
will share with you.
Thanks.
Good morning, one and all, who have gathered in this online platform for sharing the ideas on various scientific aspects. I take this opportunity to thank the resource person of this session, Dr. Dinesh, Director, Servelots, Bangalore. He delivered a
Yes, everybody is busy.
thought-provoking
Feedback.
lecture on decentralizing astronomical education, the significance of decentralizing the internet, and he also narrated the importance and impact of local radio. And the necessary for us to understand the working of sundial and
Anyway,
practicing that,
I'd like you all to think
learn
about
ourselves and
how
imparting
we
that
can,
in our
using
daily life.
technology,
So thank you for your thought-provoking
we
lecture, sir.
um,
So we
try
take
to include
behalf
everybody,
of our department
literates, non-literates,
and others, I thank you.
people. I call
Thank you.
marginalized by literacy because there is so much of cloud around literacy. So we marginalize people. Yeah, got it.
Sir, Dinesh, sir, thank you for sparing your time. The next section begins by 10:30. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving a wonderful lecture.
Okay, sorry about that. I was just saying that. Okay, sorry, missed that. I was just asking you all to think on how we can use current technology to kind of be inclusive of all the people, gender, women, girls, people who are marginalized by literacy, especially. How it might be time for us to consider everybody as a first-class citizen, because I think it's possible now.
சார் சொல்லுங்கள் சார்
That's my request.
நான் போட்டேன் சார் யூடியூப் நான் போட்டேன் சார்
And if you have ideas, please message me.
நான் பண்ணிடுறேன் சார் யா ஓகே ரெடியாக தான் சார் சொல்லிடுறேன் சார் ஒரு இன்னும் 2 minutes இருக்கு இல்லைங்க சார் தினேஷ் நான் தேங்க் பண்ணிவிட்டு அப்படியே ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம் சார்
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Dinesh. Thank you. So we will surely think about it, and it's been a wonderful talk. So we will
The
share
next talk is at what time?
10:30. Ram has to start.
It was great being here. Thank you all.
Yeah. So Ram, are you ready?
$11:30. Oh, 10:30. Okay. Cool then. We should leave the space.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hi. Am I audible? Loud and clear?
I'll be on, but the next talk is soon.
Ram, ready? Shall we start?
Yes, I'm good to start. Okay. 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 Next, we are moving second session. The resource person for this session is Mr. Rama Session, Head Research and Development, Sigru Collab, Bangalore. He is going to deliver a special lecture. So in this regard, I request Mr. Surender, Project Director, Sigru Collab, Bangalore, to introduce our resource person for this session.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Ram, so I'm glad to introduce Ram. So Ram has been working with free software community for long back. He's a free software activist. Also, he's developing many free software technological tools. He's the one who behind building the Chigru collab. So he's now heading research and development of Chigru collab. And also he's a science and socio-political enthusiast and activist. He's developing some tools for the community engagement. Yeah, so we are now in the astronomical and space science and technology domain. He's developing some Python related stuffs for the trainings, students projects, and everything. So he's one handling all the research and development stuffs in Sigdu Gola. Yeah. So Ram, it's your time.
Okay, hello everyone, good morning. Uh, so I don't have a presentation like most of the speakers because I have a lot of things to show. But before we go into the talk, I wanted to set context on what to expect from this talk.